So if you have any questions for the speaker today, please send them forward, and they'll be collected by Cecily. I'm going to ask as many questions as possible, but please write legibly, because I can't ask what I can't read. All right? All right. So, good afternoon. Welcome to our Headliners Newsmaker at the National Press Club, where news happens. I'm Poonam Sharma, Secretary of the National Press Club and founder and editor of Global StratView. As we know, 2024 is a pivotal year for elections, with more than 60 nations that have headed to the polls or are heading to the polls. Among these, India held the largest election in history from April to June, with 950 million voters who participated over 7 phases to elect their new government. Our distinguished guest today, Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition in India's parliament, is no stranger to this stage, as this is his second time addressing the National Press Club. When he joined us in June 2023, he had been disqualified from the Indian Parliament, a decision that was later overturned by the Supreme Court ruling in August of that year. In this year's historic elections, Mr. Gandhi was re-elected to his seat in Wayanad in the southern Indian state of Kerala.
Raebareli, not Wayanad.
No, but you did win from Wayanad, and also won in Raebareli, located in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. As the leader of the opposition in India's parliament, Mr. Gandhi heads the Indian National Development Inclusive Alliance, a coalition of opposition parties that holds 234 seats, just 30 short of a majority. He's a vocal critic of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Mr. Gandhi entered politics in 2004 and has been a key figure in India's political landscape. Today he joins us to share his thoughts on the future of Indian democracy, freedom of speech, and pathways toward sustainable and inclusive growth. Please join me in giving a warm National Press Club welcome to Mr. Rahul Gandhi.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Gandhi, there has been a noticeable shift in public perception of you, from being seen as a reluctant politician, if I may, to someone who can confidently handle political debates and navigate complex political issues. With the resurgence of Congress in the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh and a more open approach to working with regional parties, how do you view your personal and political transformation, and what factors have contributed to this change?
No, I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call it a transformation.
A journey?
Yeah, a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I think politics in India changed very dramatically in 2014. We entered a phase of politics that we haven't seen in India before. Aggressive, attacking the foundations of our democratic structure. And so it's a tough fight. It's been a good fight. And personally, of course, it has changed me. I wouldn't have ever imagined before 2014, if you had come to me and said, look, you walk across from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, I would have just laughed at you. And I would have said, that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But that was the only way left for the opposition in our country. Media was suppressed, institutions were controlled, agencies were attacking the opposition, governments were being overthrown, and we found that literally the only way was to go directly to the people of India.
Okay.
And that certainly changed me in fundamental ways.
Right. So you've done 2 marches across India. One was the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and the other one was the Nyaya Yatra? So
no, one march.
One march,
Yeah.
okay. But
one was on foot.
One was on foot.
And the other was by car. So one went from South India all the way to Kashmir. Mm-hmm. That was by foot. That was 4,000 kilometers. And the other one was from Manipur, which, as you know, is burning, to Maharashtra.
Right. You've already sort of answered this, but I still want to ask, what inspired you to take these journeys?
Well, I mean, at one level, we were forced politically to take, because all the instruments that normally work in a democracy, they just were not working. And the media was not working, the courts were not working, nothing was working. And so we said, okay, let's go direct, and we went, and it worked. It worked beautifully. That was at the political level and at my work level. But as a at the individual private level, I always wanted to do it. I always wanted, since I was small, since I was young, I always had this idea that I must, at some point in my life, walk across my country and see what it's about.
Well, what an experience, and what a marvelous thing to do. So as leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, how do you perceive your role evolving compared to your previous responsibilities? And what new challenges or opportunities do you foresee in this position?
I mean, it's an extension of what I did earlier. There's an ideological war taking place in India between the Congress and our partners and the BJP and the RSS. They are two completely different visions of India. We believe in a plural vision, a vision where everybody has a right to thrive. All imaginations are free to roam. An India where you're not persecuted because of what religion you believe in, or what community you come from, or which language you speak, versus a much harsher, centralizing vision. And so that's the landscape. And then, you know, we fight on that landscape, defend India's institutions, defend the weaker sections in India, defend the lower castes, defend the tribals, minorities, defend poor people. And after the yatra, I feel try to become the voice of as many people as you can. You know, so for that you have to go and understand what's going on. You have to go deep into sort of the agricultural world, the conflicts that are taking place there, into the financial system, into the tax system. So you have to, in a sense, go deep into it, talk to people, and then understand deeply what they're saying, and then transmit it.
Right.
So and at a broader level, provide a vision, India Alliance vision for the country, which is obviously going to be fundamentally different than the centralizing, monopolized vision that the BJP is presenting.
Okay, so you touched upon a couple of points. You just mentioned finance and the tax system. You spoke this morning that 17 secretaries take all financial decisions to run the country.
No, 70.
70, okay. I'm sorry, 70. Apparently, only 3 of them are Dalits, and only 1 is a member of the minority. Now, all of them are...
Well, you've got the numbers wrong, but...
Okay.
But
this is from the audience.
Let's put it that 90% of India is either tribal, lower caste, or Dalit, right, or minority. And their participation in the governance of the country, in the various institutions of the country, in the media of the country is lacking. And so what we propose is a survey to make transparent the reality of how power is shared in India.
The caste census.
The caste census.
Okay. But just to stay on the same topic, all the secretaries are from the administrative service, correct? Now, the US Treasury has economists, the UK Treasury recruits people separately with expertise in economic policy making. But the Indian Finance Ministry is the domain of IAS officers, of which very few understand finance. Will you professionalize the Finance Ministry, liberate it from IAS officers who criticize it, and appoint a Dalit scholar like B.R. Ambedkar as
No, I think that, look, the problem is much broader than that, okay? The problem is about participation of weaker sections of lower castes, in particular Dalits, across the board, right? So I'll shock you by saying that if you were to look at the top 200 corporates in India, and you were to look at their management teams, and you were to look at their CEOs, you wouldn't find anybody from the lower castes, right? You'd find only people from the upper castes. Same with the Indian media. If you look at media, you'd find that it's the preserve of upper castes. You look at the influencers on social media, you look at the big columnists, you look at the people who control the media infrastructure. Again, it's the same issue, right? So there is a very small percentage of India which is controlling the entire infrastructure. What you're proposing doesn't actually solve that problem.
No, not proposing, I'm just asking.
Yeah, what you're asking doesn't actually solve that problem. That problem is a much broader problem, and it's the first step in understanding that problem is actually in understanding what the reality is. So what is the participation of lower castes, of tribals, of Dalits in, for example, the corporate world? What is the participation in the media? What is the participation in our bureaucracy? The point I made about the secretaries is that if you look at the Indian government, 70 secretaries basically determine the direction of it, right? And I made this point again and again in the election that 90% of India doesn't have representation among those people.
Okay,
right?
just as a follow-up, a lot of government posts are lying vacant, and many government agencies are actually hiring people through contract and not as direct hires.
Exactly.
So then how can you ensure?
Well, we propose to change that.
You propose to change
So in
that?
our manifesto, we're very clear that this idea of contractual labor, we don't accept it. We're going to change it.
Right, and many agencies are doing that to also reduce their overhead because of government expenditure.
Yes, but that's true. Some of that is happening, but